Of social media posts, one of Donald Trump's closest allies, Elon Musk, has repeatedly criticised Sir Keir Starmer over his handling of historical grooming cases. The comments by the world's richest man have prompted calls for an inquiry by the Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch. We can speak now to our deputy political editor, Anushka Asthana. Anushka, how big a problem is this for the Prime Minister?
Well, I'm sure the Prime Minister would like to dismiss this as a social media activist who has it in for him. But in reality, as you said, Elon Musk is incredibly powerful. He's so close to Donald Trump, and he's going to have a very significant role when that new administration comes into place. And he really doesn't like Keir Starmer. He had already criticised him in the past, but now he has launched a new tirade against the Prime Minister, including this suggestion that as Director for Public Prosecutions, he failed to prosecute rape gangs. Now, in reality, those prosecutions began when Keir Starmer was DPP, and in fact it was partly due to reforms that he had put in place.
The UK has fallen. For many of us, this isn't a surprise, but what we've heard recently, something so shocking, so utterly dystopian, has forced us to stop and ask, what kind of world are we living in? The nation's focus has shifted sharply as we enter the first days of January, all because of a scandal that refuses to be buried, the grooming gang cover-up. What was once an issue dismissed and ignored by those in power has now exploded into the international spotlight. And it's none other than Elon Musk who's made sure the truth can't stay hidden. He hasn't just drawn attention to the scandal. He's gone straight for the jugular, accusing Labour leader Keir Starmer of being complicit in covering up this horrific saga. Musk's explosive claims have sparked an intense debate online and in the press. But here's the real question. Could Labour, despite the overwhelming outcry, attempt to bury the scandal once more? Could they really be that brazen? As unbelievable as it sounds, mounting evidence suggests they might try to, and their actions in handling public discourse have been deeply alarming. Disturbing footage has surfaced showing just how far UK authorities will go to police public speech, particularly on social media.
The offence of incitement to racial hatred involves publishing or distributing material which is insulting or abusive, which is intended to or likely to start racial hatred. So if you retweet that, then you're republishing that, and then potentially you're committing that offence. And we do have dedicated police officers who are scouring social media. Their job is to look for this material and then follow up with identification arrests and so forth. So it's a really serious. People might think they're not doing anything harmful. They are, and the consequences will be visited.
Yes, you heard that right. We now have video evidence of senior police figures admitting to the lengths they are willing to go to suppress dissent, potentially even arresting individuals for something as simple as retweeting Elon Musk. Stay tuned as we dive deeper into this shocking situation. January 2025 has begun with a scandal that continues to unfold, sending shockwaves through the UK. The grooming gang cover-up, a tragedy that has been buried for years, has now become the center of international attention. What makes this so shocking is not just the cover-up itself, but the allegations leveled against key political figures, especially Labour leader Keir Starmer. Elon Musk, known for his bold statements and influence, has accused Starmer of being complicit in this horrific scandal during his tenure as Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP. Musk's allegations have ignited a firestorm of controversy, with many asking whether Starmer's leadership truly failed to bring justice to the victims of grooming gangs. While Starmer has been credited with bringing some reforms to the justice system, critics argue that he failed to take decisive action in the face of overwhelming evidence. His time as DPP has now come under intense scrutiny, and Musk's statements have only made the matter more explosive. But what makes this scandal even more chilling is the suggestion that Labour, despite the growing outcry, might attempt to sweep this under the rug once more. Could they really be that bold? Are we witnessing a government so out of touch with the public that they would let such a serious issue go unresolved, despite the pressure mounting on them? To understand the full scale of this scandal, we must look at the context, at the political, social, and legal factors that allowed this cover-up to happen in the first place. As we dig deeper into the allegations and the evidence that has surfaced, it becomes clear that this is not just a failure of the justice system, but a deliberate attempt by those in power to protect their own interests at the expense of vulnerable citizens. 1. The grooming gang scandal. A dark chapter in UK history. The grooming gang scandal is one of the most horrific cases of systematic abuse in modern British history. Over the years, thousands of young girls, often from marginalized communities, have been exploited, abused, and trafficked by groups of men. The fact that this issue was ignored for so long, especially by authorities, has caused immense pain and frustration. The key question here is, why did it take so long for these cases to be brought to light? What role did political figures like Keir Starmer play in either ignoring or facilitating the cover-up? During his time as DPP, Starmer oversaw several high-profile grooming cases, but many argue that his leadership was not sufficient to address the scale of the problem. The grooming gangs operated in plain sight, but law enforcement, local authorities, and politicians either turned a blind eye or were complicit in enabling this abuse to continue. The victims, most of whom were young girls from working-class backgrounds, were often ignored or dismissed as troublemakers, which allowed the gangs to thrive. 2. Keir Starmer's role: reforms or cover-up. Starmer has long been viewed as a reformer in the justice system, credited with implementing changes that helped bring some grooming gang members to justice. But many argue that his reforms were not enough. As DPP, Starmer was in a powerful position to take action against the grooming gangs. But critics claim that his focus was more on procedural reforms than on the real, urgent issue at hand. The key allegations now are whether Starmer deliberately ignored or downplayed the severity of these cases for political gain. Musk's accusations suggest that Starmer may have been more concerned with his political career than with prosecuting these crimes. This raises the disturbing possibility that Starmer, in his position of power, may have been complicit in a cover-up, allowing these gangs to continue their abuse unchecked. The weaponization of public speech, policing free expression. As the grooming gang scandal continues to unfold, we are also seeing disturbing developments regarding the suppression of free speech in the UK. Footage has emerged showing a senior police officer admitting that they are actively scouring social media for material that could be considered insulting or abusive, with the intention of arresting individuals who share such material. The implications of this are chilling. If the UK government is willing to monitor and suppress public opinion on social media, even going as far as arresting people for sharing posts that are critical of politicians, then we are seeing a serious erosion of democratic freedoms. This is not just about grooming gangs. This is about the government's willingness to silence dissent, to control the narrative, and to maintain power at all costs. We are now living in a society where speaking out against those in power could lead to legal consequences. The case of people being arrested for something as simple as retweeting Elon Musk is just the tip of the iceberg. What other forms of expression will be censored? How far will the government go to silence its critics? The public reaction and media coverage. As this scandal continues to unfold, public opinion has become deeply divided. On one side, you have those who believe that Starmer is guilty of a cover-up and that the Labour Party must be held accountable for its role in allowing these grooming gangs to operate. On the other hand, there are those who argue that Starmer's reforms were a step in the right direction and that any allegations of a cover-up are politically motivated. The media has played a significant role in shaping the narrative around this scandal. Some outlets have been quick to report on Musk's accusations and the evidence that has emerged, while others have been more hesitant, perhaps due to political biases or fears of backlash. The coverage has been inconsistent, with some media outlets downplaying the significance of the allegations, while others have been more willing to dig deeper into the issue. As we approach the climax of this scandal, one thing becomes painfully clear. The UK government's efforts to suppress dissent and silence critics are not just a passing concern. They are a deliberate strategy to maintain control. The disturbing footage of senior police officers discussing the potential arrests of individuals for simply sharing a retweet is a clear indication that the government is willing to go to extreme lengths to protect its interests. The grooming gang scandal is just one facet of a larger, more troubling pattern of government overreach and abuse of power. As we stand at the crossroads of this scandal, we must ask ourselves, what kind of country do we want to live in? A country where the truth is buried, where the powerful are allowed to manipulate the system, and where dissent is met with harsh repression? Or do we want to live in a society where justice is served, where the voices of the oppressed are heard, and where free speech is protected? The UK has a long history of standing up for democratic values, but recent events have shown us just how fragile those values are. The grooming gang scandal and the government's response to it are not isolated incidents. They are part of a larger pattern of corruption and abuse. If we are to move forward, we must demand accountability from those in power and ensure that the voices of the victims are heard. If you value free speech, transparency, and accountability, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Join our growing community as we continue to expose the truths they don't want you to see. Drop a comment below with your thoughts, and don't forget to share this video with others who need to know what's really going on in the UK.